What's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be talking about the Chicago Bulls and a buyout option that I want to bring to your guys' attention that the Chicago Bulls may pursue. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and guarantee anyone comes to the Chicago Bulls, and I'm going to give you my reasons why in this video. But it's a guy that maybe could potentially help out the Chicago Bulls in one way, form, or fashion. It could be something or someone that we could use to really help in some areas that we need. But before we get any further, if you like the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Bulls and of course their buyout options. List them all, list the ones that you want me to talk about. Again, we got a whole week. I'm not going to sit here and talk about celebrity basketball games and everything in between, you know, that's just not me. I'll let them do what they do. Look, I'll watch it eventually. I haven't really watched it. I've seen some highlights and whatnot, but it's the All-Star game, man. Like, you know, it's again, especially when they don't try and stuff of that nature. I'm talking about the main game here as well, because we know we're going to get to that eventually. When they don't really try, is it really worth talking about? I mean, it's just a good night out, I guess you could say, for a lot of those guys. It doesn't really mean much towards me. So I'd rather talk about buyout options. I'd rather talk about what it actually means, the wins and the losses and the competitive games. I'd rather talk about that than probably the All-Star game itself. It's just a nice little vacation for me where I don't have to do, I guess, watch Bulls games on a holiday. That's the only thing I'm going to take out of the situation. But either way, let me know what you guys think. But the buyout option I want to talk about today is Marcus Morris Sr., ladies and gentlemen. Now, again, he's an interesting player to say the least, and I think he does tick a lot of boxes. Now, keep in mind, I did get this suggestion from a comment on the previous YouTube video. So again, talking about these things and listing them will make me probably make a video about them as well and discuss what I like and what I don't like about those players and those additions and stuff of that nature. So I believe Marcus Morris averages around 6 points per game. He's played about 37 games, if I'm not mistaken, and he does tick a lot of areas. Let's start off with obviously the fact that he's 6'8" and he is a forward, ladies and gentlemen. At the end of the day, that is definitely something that we could use on this Bulls team. We don't have a lot of size. We don't really have a lot of power forwards that could really help on the glass either. I mean, Patrick Williams is a guy that you could look to in that instance, but that's probably one of his biggest weaknesses for most Bulls fans. And there's, you know, Torrey Craig's a tad bit undersized, and there's a lot of guys just, you know, we play multi-guard systems and stuff of that nature. Sometimes you just need that 6'8", physically tough guy that can come in and bring you some tough minutes every now and then. And Marcus Morris can do that for the Chicago Bulls. Of course, we just mentioned it, the toughness side of things. This Bulls team, again, it was often described 2 years ago. Granted, it's a completely different team from 2 years ago till now, especially with the role players. But it was more of a team that likes to get steals and deflections, likes to use the athleticism to run and transition. And that was their defense. They were never really a physical team. You can kind of see that now. I mean, we're still not a physical team, but we've got a little bit more physical players. We've got a Torrey Craig in there that's not afraid to play some full court defense and can really get up in your grill and show some physicality in there. Obviously, Drummond playing more minutes for the Bulls, you can see his physicality in there. We've tried to make a bit of a balance between athleticism and physicality. And I think Marcus Morris Sr., I wouldn't necessarily call him the most athletic player you've ever seen, but he's definitely one of the tougher players out there in the league. I think both Morris brothers are very, very tough. And that's kind of what they're known for. That's the reputation around the league. So you have to take that at face value. So at least, even though they might not be the best quality of players, again, 6 points per game is not necessarily, you know, something you're going to look at and say, wow, that's massively game-changing for the Chicago Bulls. But he does bring some physicality, and I think we could desperately need some physicality in this team. Let's move over to the third fact. He shoots 40% from the three-point line on 2.4 attempts, I believe. I think those are the stats that I read. And he shoots 40% from three. So he's a guy that you can chuck in the corner. He's a guy you can do a pick and pop with. And he can execute from the three-point line. Now, again, if you're looking for a purely three-point shooting player, I wouldn't necessarily look at Marcus Morris, because I would still look at guys like Joe Harris that could probably do a little bit more, be a little bit more versatile in the shot selection and the three-point shots in general as, I guess, better options from, you know, when it comes to just pure shooting. But if you're looking at someone that's overall balanced, can shoot the three-point shot from a catch-and-shoot position, can bring some toughness, can bring some size into the team, he kind of ticks all those boxes. So a lot to like about Marcus Morris. What are some of the things you don't like? Well, I just think the biggest thing for me is I don't necessarily see him as a strong defender. I see him as a physical guy, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's a good defender. And I kind of view this with both Morris brothers, in all honesty. I don't see either of them as massively strong defenders in the NBA. So again, you're going to have to take the risk. You're going to have to look at the risk and ask yourself, is it worth, I guess, bringing in a guy that's not the best defender, but can be physical at times? And, would that hurt the Bulls or will that help the Bulls? And in many ways, I think we have a team around him, especially if you're playing guys like Caruso and Ayo around him. You got guys like Drummond around him as well. I think we have enough of a defensive team there to kind of carry a guy that wants to play defense but might not be the best at it. And that's kind of how I view Marcus Morris and the physicality he can also bring to the game as well. So I'm not really too opposed to the defensive end for him. Again, someone like Joe Harris, who I guess everybody says it. He can't guard anyone when it comes to the NBA standard. It's just very similar to Duncan Robinson. Yes, he's a fantastic three-point shooter, Duncan Robinson, and that's why he plays. But he can't guard. And it's as simple as that. I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but that's kind of how I view Joe Harris as well after all these injuries and whatnot. So it's a difficult price to pay, You're going to have to sacrifice something. No buyout is going to be absolutely perfect and fit every box and, just do all these great things. But Marcus Morris might be the closest we can get. Now, to ask the question, should the Chicago Bulls pursue Marcus Morris and would that deal get approved or get done? Well, I think the Bulls should pursue. At the end of the day, we're in a desperate need to compete this season. We're ninth in the Eastern Conference, and I clearly can see the Bulls don't want to be there. So, yeah, Arturas Karnisovas wants to talk about competitiveness. Well, again, you're going to have to fight out of the 9 seed if you're going to show anybody that you truly mean that you want to be a competitive team. Because I think a 9 seed finish for the Bulls, 1 seed over the 10 seed, is just not going to show anyone that you really mean what you say about competitiveness. It's as simple as that. If we have the same 40 and 42 record by the end of the season, is that really a massive step up, even if you do finish in the 9th seed? No. The answer is no. So you do need someone, if you have one roster spot available, you definitely need to go out and use that roster spot to try and get someone that can help this team, even if it's in a small way. Because maybe a small way can make a lot of difference considering how close we are in most of these games. It's something to think about here. So I would say the Bulls should pursue Marcus Morris because he does tick a lot of boxes that we do need. But I don't think Marcus Morris is going to come to the Chicago Bulls. Why? Pretty simply put, it looks like from multiple reports he's going to be heading to Minnesota. And let's be real here. You've got Minnesota, one of the best teams in the Western Conference, up-and-coming superstars like Anthony Edwards, a massive, fantastic big man in Karl Anthony Towns, one of the defensive player of the years in Rudy Gobert, one of the better, solid, kind of glue guy point guard in Mike Conley, a solid bench, especially from the center position onwards. There's a lot of good bench pieces there. And you have an opportunity to go and compete with a fantastic team. Or you pick the Bulls, who can compete. They do compete in every single game, but they don't win every single game. Very small chance they're going to win a championship. Not better than Minnesota to the Timberwolves. The only thing we really have is that we're a larger market compared to Minnesota. So look, if I'm a player, and especially heading towards the later years of my career, would I go for the bigger market to get more publicity? Would I go and try and compete for a championship? One thing I think about when it comes to the Morris brothers is that they both like to compete. So I would say he's probably more inclined to go to Minnesota, even if the Bulls are interested. And that's the problem with buyouts, because you can have the most perfect target right there in front of you. But if you're not in a position where it's enticing to go to that place, then those players might not pick you unless they have no other options. So if it comes down to the Bulls or Minnesota, I have a strong feeling Marcus Morris will go to Minnesota because it's the better environment, a better winning culture at the moment, a better amounts of players, better team. Even though we did beat them. But still, that's what I mean, They're out here in the West showing true quality. So, of course, I'd want to go to a team that would want to be in the playoffs, that competes in the playoffs, and that can maybe get out of the first round and actually compete with the best teams in the West and really try to make something from themselves. Can you say that about the Bulls in the Eastern Conference? Again, it's difficult to say, but at the 9th seeded seed in the Eastern Conference, I can honestly say it's not enticing to go to a 9th-seeded team unless you're from Chicago or unless there's no other option for you. Yeah, let's go to the Bulls. That's kind of how I view our situation. So we'll wait and see. Hopefully I'm wrong and he can come to the Bulls and maybe the Bulls can pursue Time will tell. But thank you for watching. Drop a like and a follow and or subscribe if you are new. And I'll see you in the next Bulls related video. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.